Hey, what's up everyone? Justin here, and I got some time before I start work, and I figured I'd take this time to talk about an anime that I've been watching, and it's the Netflix hit Great Pretender. So yeah, I've watched the entire series. The entire series is now on Netflix in Japan, and thought this would be a good time to talk about my thoughts, and of course there will be no spoilers, and that I can promise. But in case you haven't watched it, Great Pretender, it's about how Makoto Edamura, a Japanese guy, of course, who, he just makes small money just by stealing people on the street, especially tourists. And he attempts to con one of the tourists in Nakamise in the Asakusa district of Tokyo. And it turns out that that guy is also a con man, or as they say in Japanese, konfidensuman. And apparently they need him for the group that this man works for. His name is Lauren. And he could use Makoto's help to con this big Hollywood producer who's also a drug dealer. And at first Makoto doesn't want to go with the idea, but he goes along with it with the hopes of wanting to get back at Lauren just to prove he's the better guy. But yeah, and then from there, shit goes crazy. But anyway, so yes, even though it's your standard 25 or so anime series, it has 4 respective arcs, and within these 4 arcs, they take place in different parts of the world. And within these arcs, you learn about the cast. Like in this arc, it just the first arc you learn about. It just introduces the characters. The second arc, you learn about this guy. This girl. The third arc, you learn about this person. And in the last 2 arcs, in the last arc, you learn about 2 core characters, and you understand how and why they got into the game and why they can't leave. So, it shows and tells you everything you need to know, which is cool. It's excellently paced, and progressively it does get a little predictable. Like the more you get to know these characters, the more you can tell, like, okay, they're gonna do this. It's like, I saw this coming. But at the same time, it does offer something exciting regardless, even if you can't predict the twist by the time you find yourself intimately familiar with the series and its cast. But throughout most of the series, you get a genuine sense of who Makoto really is as a human being. You get an idea of how and why he got into the game, and why he wants to live a normal life, but for some reason his his conspirators don't want to leave him alone. They sort of get humor out of just conning him back into the con game, and in a sense they kind of do value what he can contribute, and by the time you get to the ending, there is a reason why he's always been involved, and the wait is worth it. But yes, I think it's also, as for how the story folds out, I think it's especially in the point of view of Makoto. I'm not going to really give into any spoilers, but it does relate how he gets into the game and why. But I think it's also a good reflection of how society treats criminals. Yes, people with criminal records, they've done bad shit, but because these laws have these restrictions against people who have convictions, they're unable to pursue other opportunities. For employment, it's like, okay, do you have a criminal record? Of course, these laws and these policies, they're well intended, but I think we see through this anime and even in real life that some of these policies can be counterintuitive, and when these people are unable to find legitimate employment, it forces them back into the criminal world. And we kind of see this here, and even though it largely, this is a Japanese guy, just so much of this is so universally understandable and relatable, which is why I think it's such a good story. But other than that, you do see a lot of emotions involved. Makoto, he's a very emotional guy, and he can get emotionally compromised. But in the end, he'll find a way to, not compromise his emotions, but yet still win, not just for him, but the people he works with. But yes, moving on, the art and animation, the character design, it's very much in the same vein as Lupin the Third. The way the characters are drawn, their faces, their bodies, their eyes, the hairstyles. It's very much it's pretty much a homage to Lupin the Third, considering that's also it's like the OG heist anime. And I think it's a very appropriate style. It captures the comedy, it captures the atmosphere, it captures the romance, just everything you can think about it. But what makes it stand out is the backgrounds. I'll just talk about the backgrounds in the first story arc, where it takes place in Hollywood. The backgrounds are drawn in a very psychedelic manner, not in the manner, let's say, you would say in JoJo or Persona 5, but like the Andy Warhol paintings of Marilyn Monroe, the Coca-Cola can, the Campbell Soups can, like pop art. So I think that pop art style really captures what Hollywood is all about. And if you know Andy Warhol, he coined the phrase 15 minutes of fame. And I think 15 minutes of fame is, yes and no, a theme of the first arc. And I think that art style is a very appropriate application to this story arc. So I just think if you like psychedelic styles, art styles like pop art or what you see in JoJo, then you're gonna like what you see in Great Pretender. The animation is also really lanky. It's very comedic. It's also very much in the tune of Lupin the Third, especially the way Edamura runs in a comedic way in a panic. It's also a homage to the Lupin the Third as well. A lot of people can say that it's like Ocean's 11, The Italian Job. Yes, The Great Pretender is a heist anime, but in the end, I say it ultimately goes back to Lupin the Third. And speaking of the title being Great Pretender, what would this anime be if the original Freddie Mercury song was not at all used in this series? If it wasn't, it'd be false advertising, I guess. But it uses the original song by Freddie Mercury. It's not a cover like Back in Time for the Back to the Future cartoon. And the ending credits, it's also a unique homage to the original music video as well. But instead of Freddie Mercury, it's represented by the cat figures that, toy capsule figures that Makoto likes to collect. But yeah, it's the the anime does an excellent job of capturing the spirit of the original song. But other than the ending song, the ending theme, the soundtrack in general, it's full of jazz, pop, everything you can think of that captures what a heist anime is supposed to be about. And at the same time, it uses regular pop songs to capture the emotions of these characters, their lost loves, and everything that the story is supposed to be telling. But yeah, so all I can say is, probably Great Pretender in a concept isn't the most original anime there is, but its execution really makes it feel original. It's very unique. The characters always have you on edge. Makoto is a very relatable guy. But yeah, before that, the voice acting. I say you should watch this anime in Japanese. Of course, it should be, you can watch it dubbed if you want to, but the Japanese version, especially in the beginning, you see Makoto and Lauren converse in English. They're Japanese actors. And same with Makoto's associate. And when you watch it in dub, I mean, this quality is kind of lost. It's sort of like the same thing in Nippon Shinbotsu 2020. Like the mother and the son often, communicate in English, and this is to signify their relationship. And she's this foreigner, and she's teaching her son how to speak in English. And when you watch it in dub, it takes away that quality, what it's supposed to signify. So yeah, the dub is good for what it is, but I'm a purist through and through, and there are plenty of reasons why you should watch this in Japanese. I didn't get that too far into the dub. When I watched this scene in Japanese, when they're speaking English, I went back to the English. I was like, okay, they're just speaking English. What's the big fucking deal? But after that, I didn't really bother watching it. And there are future scenes where they're speaking in Mandarin, and I haven't watched the dub that far yet to see if they speak Mandarin in the dub or not. But if they do, feel free to tell me. But yeah, I recommend Japanese in the end. So if you're looking for something really trippy, as in as if you took some sort of, I wouldn't say, light acid. It's not like a hardcore acid trip like JoJo or Persona, like I said before. But, something a little more light, then yeah, Great Pretender is it. So if you like heist stuff, Great Pretender is exactly what you're looking for. So yeah, if you got a Netflix account, check it out.